Welcome to the Amsterdam Museum. My name is Nasam Abboud. Today I will take you in a tour, female gaze tour, through the exhibition of Refresh Amsterdam the Second. And the theme here is around war and conflict. The theme war and conflict first came to me as a very good opportunity of framing that I would like to be under spotlight with. It's exactly the ideas I would like to show up in the new street I live in at the moment in Amsterdam. My history that came from the war of Syria and the conflict around the area I came from, and all of these hidden and invisible facts around me and my body, my identity. This is exactly what a war and conflict framing of art exhibition would mean to me, is an opportunity to connect and communicate and be visible. It was 2008 when I decided to go for art studies, which is somehow create a big dilemma for a couple of years between me and my family about how art can be a stable career for a woman. So it was also a journey for me to convince them that it can be a career and it can be a studies that is interesting for this female to be stable and to be powerful and go on and also make family. You know, there's stereotype about what is stable for a woman in the society I came from. I wouldn't say that my family is this stereotypical family. They are such supportive and people of freedom. Actually, they struggle for a long time with a lot of things to care about freedom of others. But it was a little bit critical for them when it came to their own daughter. They became suddenly, let's say, scared or afraid that maybe it is not safe for me to go to be an artist woman. And that was the moment I left Hama in 2008, when I decided to go for my studies in another city, in Al Suwaida city in Syria. My Bachelor of Fine Art happened in Al Suwaida city, which is close to Damascus city. So my life was in between these two cities, in between this south city of Syria, Al Suwaida, where my university was, also in Damascus, because the main university that I am part of is in Damascus. And I lived in Damascus for until 2017, until I left to Lebanon first, to Beirut, where I had also another experience of being displaced as a Syrian artist in Lebanon, in another Arabic country, with all of this heritage, clashing with all of this pain. Let's say memories and traumas. For a long time I had like nightmares that I might not be able to go out of the borders. So borders really create big dilemma in my art practice, how to cross borders, how to crush and clash with it. And I felt like one of the main, there is this poem that helped me to work about that. It is for Rumi, a Sufi poet, and it says that الجراح هي مكان الضوء الذي يدخل إلى الجسد. And if I may translate it in my own broken English, it says that our wound is the place where the light come to our body or come to us. So I started to really call and immerse myself in these memories, struggles, fears, and I think it was mainly the thing I wanted to tell and get out of it. Clinton work is a presentation of a stage of my life, let me say. Because if I would say it's my body in itself, I would feel that I don't want to earn Clinton experience. I would like to connect to it more. And this is something actually I call through my art, instead of trying to own the art piece in itself, try to respect what is the artist owning, because somehow this is very personal stories. This is really an image of a real hurted spot, here hurted body. And when I saw Clinton piece for the first time, it was suddenly like a huge memory of a nightmare I felt when I moved first time out of Syria. I was really heavy. I had this heavy body. I was really wondering if I will be able to face the world with all of this in my head. All of these stories, sounds of the city under bombs, smells of this smoke of flesh, and it was like somehow terrifying images. And then seeing such an art piece that trying to say out loudly this harsh image is a powerful moment for me. It's a sense of solidarity. This is what Clinton work for me. It's literally another side of my story. When I first entered the exhibition, I was immersed by this map of the center of the city Amsterdam. And actually it is somehow a nostalgic moment that it reminds me of the first moment I stood in the central station space. It was the first day I arrived to Netherlands. And that moment I felt I was really like not connected to this city, but somehow immersed and like amazed by the history and all of these urban faces I see around me. But in the same time, I felt that I still need to know more. And then seeing this art piece by Gert-Jan Koken is somehow an answer to my wonders at that moment. Because Gert-Jan tried to deal with these archival and historical tools that usually it is used just to simplify facts and simplify such a sensitive and traumatized events in the city. We are not connected to that facts that was covered by a lot of archival materials. This kind of documentary tools that was used to escape a lot of facts through history, and now I see the artist is using it to reimagine or reportrait a map or a picture of this city. It can tell me more about the city, it gives me more information, and I feel more connected, because once I know more, I can give more solidarity, I can give more emotions, and I can relate to my own path, because for me, coming to a city in the West at the moment from Damascus or from Hammam, the city I came from, is big difference. Is coming from a city that is struggling with war, and to a city that is, the war is something or a part of its history. And then I see this art piece that is relating me to this history again. It gives me a sense of connection, of a common pain, an identity that was hidden somehow or like missed to be pronounced when I visit the city or the streets. And I think this is what is interesting for me in this art piece. Archiving all of these phases of the city is a way to describe or to tell the story behind the walls, behind the stones, also behind the faces of people. It tells more than we know, and this is exactly what I need to know to feel more belonged at the moment. This art piece by the artist Handan Tufan. The artist herself, her identity, the fact that she came from Turkey, from Diyarbakir, it is somehow calling me, because it's the same region I came from. And the moment I entered this room, because the art piece itself is a mimic to a living room in the houses of that region. It is literally mimicking my own family house room. Like the photos, the plastic roses, the intimacy of objects in the space. It is all somehow recalling me, somehow asking me and reminding me of where I came from, and more specifically what I came from, the experience I came from, the experience I hold with me, I belong to. And it was really amazing when I read the story behind the art piece and the way Tufan thinks about such kind of interactive installation that invite people to leave the moment and sit and be part of such an intimate moment of a family memory. It is somehow telling the story or revealing hidden things that we never know, that we meet people, we meet new people who came from cultures, specifically culture who was hurted and wounded by war, by long struggle of of having members who are missed, who are kidnapped, who are killed, and this kind of very painful history inside every family. It's literally for me the beauty of every family, because I see the beauty of my family in these wounds also. So for me, this art piece, or let's say this installation, this living room, is another image, another representation of home. In a sense of belonging is about being visible and connected, and to be visible you need to be known. Everything needs to be somehow accepted, and this room could be a way to gain a spot for these memories in the minds of people who are walking through it. My own living room is somehow, it has the same walls, it has the same pictures. I have pictures of my family, of people I don't want to forget, because somehow losing them or being distant from them was big pain in my life. It's not about me reminding myself of pain, it's more about me reminding myself of important things, valuable things, and like giving these valuable things in my life the spot to stay always like this. Because somehow I've been struggling when I was displaced from Syria, when I fled from Syria to the West. Actually, Amsterdam wasn't the first city I fled to, but I was really struggling with the idea that I will forget my family, I will forget my life, my language, faces, words, text I love. But at the moment I feel, no, I can hold my memory, and it is somehow part of my new house in Amsterdam.
I'm Nasam Abboud, visual artist, part of Refresh Amsterdam in Amsterdam Museum. Here is the hobo installation. I was part of it with Nasam Abboud and Ru'a Jafar. Live in Amsterdam since 2016, far from the whole mainstream media, how it's present that culture, that people. So we present it we just claim our spot, how we see it. This is an interactive installation try to achieve many sense, not just dealing with the body visually, but trying to present the smell of that city, of that land, of that culture, the sound there, for sure, the visual, how to make this environment at the end, to create this environment where you can feel alive. The sound experience is activated by people when they walk in and through the installation. And this part happens in collaboration with composer Hans Neuhausen.
This installation is started as a conversation between me and Yazam, my partner. And it was mainly us trying to have this ping pong table around the idea how we can visualize or perform this clash that we sensed or experienced when we moved from the Middle East to the West. This clash between cultures, what is the impact of this clash, this sense of difference, sense of strangeness in everything, in the kind of aesthetics. What we have, our memories, our narratives, and with the new narratives that we are sensing, this kind of new structure that is evolving, this hybrid structure, hybrid aesthetics that is evolving in our brains, our art. We're looking to Aleppo soap. Aleppo soap is one of the very familiar smells in the mind of every Syrian person, maybe not just Syrian, any person somehow connecting the Laurel soap smell to these old factories that was like smashed and gone because of the war. last 10 years in Aleppo. But here we are trying to deal with soap or show the soap or trying to, I don't want to say use, because somehow it's not about using, it's more about we are trying to give this soap a space or a spot to tell us a story about how culture could be reformed and moved and changeable over time and between clashes and between events of life. So soap in this installation is it went through different stages. Actually, we mix it here, Yazan and I, in this installation. We pour it as a liquid on this parasol, this base that we are trying to mimic the fan, the outside fan of the buildings, any buildings, maybe the mosque buildings, maybe the embassy building, whatever building that has this outside fence that is used to protect the building or somehow prevent somebody to get in or get out of it. This fence tells the story about this close blocking of specific powers to get in and out. And then the soap tells the story that when it is liquid and became hard by the time, this influence of time on something like has this beauty, has this value, like Aleppo soap. It tells us about the story about our culture itself, how it also reform and deform through time, and sometimes it pushes this outside fence to get out because it's something we cannot really control. Nobody can control. And this is a fact we really need to stress, and we would like to stress in this kind of installation. Yeah. The praying mat and the musnad, this piece of wood, is part of the, let's say, I don't want to say instrument, I want to say another art pieces that prayers in mosques use. And it was in dialogue with Ru'a Jafar, our partner in this installation, and it was somehow trying a dialogue between our concept of how we can represent this culture in new context and her own approach about how stories tells us, about identities, about cultures, and how this story is never ended. It's endless process. So stories never meant to be written and stopped at some moment. Stories evolve and developed and became religions, became cultures, identities. It became wounds, it became home in the end of it. It becomes memories also. So this piece I'm taking as a spot of calmness for my body at the moment. It tells one of the stories that Ru'a interfered with in this installation, and these stories goes beyond the history of Islam that we know in media. It is more, this story came from the heritage folk story in our region, not in Syria, specifically more in the whole Bilad Sham region. This story tells that for a long time people was questioning the other, questioning about the universe, about this power that impact them, influence them. Maybe this power that would help them to survive, that would save them, or maybe that would create pain for them. This questioning about God for us is somehow questioning about the other, this admission about the powerful of the nature around us as a way to support our bodies or to heal it or to empower it in face of the struggle of life. It was long rooted even in stories beyond the Islamic narratives. Spirituality for me is a travel, it's a trip to crack stereotypes. Actually, when I want to know more, when I want to not know about something, when I want to question and doubt about something, I take it into a spiritual, or I take my body and my mind and my thoughts into a spiritual journey. I try to go from inside to outside. I try to go above and under and go all over the idea, and somehow I end up in this kind of calmness about what I want to know. So somehow spiritually here is an artistic process for me to know and to find out, to wonder, and to love, actually. And this is what we are trying to do in this art piece. We are trying to love the identity I came from. We're trying to question it in a way that shows what kind of pain it resulted from this culture, what kind of joy and beauty that also resulted from the culture we came from. So it's really a journey in between everything to find out a spot and make it a further step to what is called truth or fact about the other. The minaret is mimicking the minaret of a mosque. It is the highest point of any mosque where the prayer stand and start to call people to be gathered together for one purpose, which is making a connection to God in Islam. But in details, if we go back to this root of calling, this concept of calling, this gesture toward the other to come to you, and like this startup of communication and being together, it's a sense of solidarity, it's a sense of creation, a common sense of a space, of a place. And this is somehow, we think as artists, it empowers our bodies and it creates this powerful energy that we need to find our peace. When we first start to talk, Yazan and I, about how we can represent this idea of calling, we thought about the minaret of the mosque. The minaret has this kind of column structure that connect the sky to the ground. And from our history, as both came from sculpture studies, from fine art studies, we are both was amazed by Constantin Brancusi, one of the very interesting artists who kicked off the modernity in art, who tried to get out of the classic shape of sculpture. So one of his main art pieces is the infinity column, or the column of infinity, and it mimics this movement of fly. It is a lot of studies about the bird movement to get from ground to the sky, from this look from inside, from the ground, to the look from up, from the sky. So we thought the shape of Brancusi column of infinity would be like a representation to the minaret we need to say. It's literally trying to use what Constantine activate in art about looking into the soul, into the source, instead of looking only to the shape of a specific aesthetic, let's look to the soul of it, the source of the beauty of it, the story behind it. So that's the minaret represent Brancusi column, and in the same time it represents the oud instrument, which is a very traditional, very much traditional music instrument in the region where I came from, in the Middle East, or let's say the East. And what is interesting about oud, that oud is very much known for the maqam Hijaz, or the maqamat that is played on oud, which is somehow the center of the Islamic music or Arabic music, maqamat. And oud here made to represent one of these specific maqams that we are interested in, which is maqam al-Hijaz. Maqam al-Hijaz is maqam al-Tarab. It is used because it has huge impact and influence on the listeners. It makes the listener more connected to inside bodies, their memories. It calls their pain, their sadness, their love. And that's why you see a lot of people who are in love really listening to songs based on this maqam. But also, there is a somehow collective confirmation in the city of Damascus that we are trying to mimic its environment in this installation. This confirmation says that let's do all the prayers with this maqam. So 5 times during the day in Damascus, you listen to this maqam for 5 times every day, and it became somehow part of our bodies. And this is exactly what the minaret is trying to say. It represents part of our body, part of our sound culture that we came from, part of our identity, and somehow part of the Islamic aesthetics identity. The dome. Once you enter the installation of Hobo, and you will see the main piece, or like the big piece, trying to shield the ground of this installation. And it's somehow a try or an attempt from us as artists to recreate or present this beauty of domes inside the mosques. This architectural concept that helps the body to experience the beyond, or the extension, the extended self. We've been really amused by it, and we felt like a mosque in art context would need to also give this experience. So that was the reason why we started thinking about how we can create a dome in the way that can be founded in our memories. And then we started with the geometrical shapes, because geometric itself is another Sufi, is another spiritual journey visually. And it is somehow very interesting in the context of Islamic culture, because, as you know, the focus was really to avoid the figurative bodies inside the visuals of Islamic art, to avoid the representation of a human body or anybody that would be like in touch with or like in touch of creating agencies. So for a long time, Islamic artists focus on recreation, on this differentiation, fractalizing visuals to create this beauty, and that make it really intense and very deep research, the geometric art. So the dome is based on a kind of geometrical sentence, geometrical compensation structure, and it is made by ceramic. And you can see there's 3 lights of ceramic. It is also 3 kinds of ceramics, 3 sounds of ceramic, and actually it is somehow interactive. You can this sound somehow also is a representation of our identity sounds. This sound is very familiar when you walk through the mountains in Syria, when you hear the wind. This it is somehow also calling to our memories, the sound memory. So this is also an instrument, musical instrument in itself.